Hey everyone, I hope you're all having a wonderful day. We're already nearing the end of March and it's time for me to do a roundup video. If you are new to my channel, hello, I'm so glad you stopped by. What I do at the end of every month is I do a video doing some speed reviews on items that I am now ready to review. Usually it's things that are newer to my collection. Sometimes it's items that I just haven't reviewed even though I've had them for a while. I actually just have a small handful of items to review today. I've been doing my best not to buy too much the past few months and I have had limited success, but you know, some success. But that does mean less things to review. But the things I have to review today, I've got some good ones. Shall we start with this palette? I teased that I was going to be reviewing this palette this month in the last video I did, and I do feel like I'm ready to give you my thoughts on this palette. So this is the palette that I'm wearing today. I definitely made it a bit more dark and smoky than I was intending, but I was trying to give some more testing to the darker shade in the palette silhouette here. I think that there's no problem for that shade to bring a look nice and deep and smoky if you want, but the whole palette in general is not deep. It's definitely on the light and everyday side, which is what I prefer personally. I have found that when making looks with this palette, a lot of my looks looked very similar to each other. The shades don't dupe each other, but in the case of the mattes, a lot of them are the same tone, just in different depths. I'm thinking specifically of Stone, Tender, and Mesh. Get a little bit of variation with this peachy shade down here called Wit, and then this more mauve shade up here called Vague. In order to accomplish this look today, I first used Mesh all over the lid, then I deepened it up with Vague, and then on the outer corner I put Silhouette, and then all over my lid I put the shade Delilah, which you can see Delilah is a super sparkly shade. Then I have Vague on my lower lash line along with some brown eyeliner. So again, this look is definitely the deepest and smokiest I've done with this palette. The most sparkly shade in the palette is this shade here called Muse. That one is going to give you the most sparkly impact if that is what you're looking for. I would say closely followed by the one I'm wearing today, Delilah. Otherwise, several of these other ones like Mia and Sheen are a very gentle micro sparkle that give that beautiful wet look on the lid but aren't super glam in your face, which is generally what I prefer on a day-to-day basis. So even though this palette is kind of limited in the kinds of looks that you can do, I'm still really pleased with it because it's the kind of looks that I prefer to do. Usually something more cool, more mauve-y, occasionally something peachy with a little bit of sparkle. And one thing that I do appreciate about it as well, since it is in a more expensive palette, it feels expensive. Not only does the formula feel nice and inexpensive, but the packaging does as well. I know that when I'm paying extra money for a makeup product, I want it to feel nice, and this really does feel nice. It is just plastic, but it is magnetized and it's heavier plastic. It's not cheap feeling. Also, I've been considering, since it does have the holes in the back so that you can rearrange the shades, I've been thinking about how I want to rearrange my palette to make it a little bit more, even more user-friendly for me. Basically grouping all the mattes together, sparkles together, and like some of these richer browns together. Oh wait, no, this one and this one. But this is one of those palettes that is super useful. It will go a long way in my collection. And if I ever had to reduce my collection to just a few palettes, I could see myself choosing this one. I mean, that's saying a lot because I have a lot of palettes that I absolutely love, but just considering how many of these shades are everyday shades for me, this immediately is going to go in like a favorite category. It's just so user-friendly. The formula of the mattes, by the way, I know I like to talk about mattes a lot, and that's because I am not a blending queen. I need mattes to be able to blend well, and these do. It makes it so easy to make an eye look, and that is something that I really appreciate. So like most people, I really like the I Need a Nude palette from Natasha Denona. Moving on to some more sparkle. Could I resist picking this up? No, I could not. This is the Glitter Puck from Half Magic. This is the only item I purchased from this brand so far, and I really do enjoy it. I mean, you're getting a huge amount of this product though. This is 8.5 grams of product. The shade name, by the way, is Dopamine Sparkle, which I was just like, that is a glorious name for this product. It comes with a little foam piece on here to keep it nice and pressed in the pan. But the actual shade, it's, oh no, oh no, oh no. Okay, it fell out, but it managed to stay together. Oh my goodness, I was so afraid I was gonna end up with so much glitter all over my floor. Whoa, okay, let's not do that again. The actual shade is this light pink, but with a gold shimmer. So I'm hoping you can see the kind of cool pink base. Sometimes products like this can be really, really difficult to capture on camera, but it has a cool pink base and then with a lot of beautiful gold sparkles. Well, I guess it's not just gold, there's some silver in there as well. This is one of those products that you will get that glorious wet look shine on your lid. Since the base is practically translucent, you can easily tap it over other things. So is it absolutely gorgeous and something that I will use? Oh my, yes, 100%. But do I think the 8.5 grams of this product is a bit excessive? Like, did I need to buy this? And yes, it's excessive, and no, I didn't need to buy it, but I very much enjoy this product. I feel like if you're someone who wears a lot of glitter perhaps over your body or even in your hair, maybe you're like a professional in the theater or something and you wear a lot of stage makeup and you need lots of sparkle, holy moly, this might be actually something that would be perfect because you get so much product. For an everyday consumer like me who already has a lot of beautiful sparkles, yeah, this is a bit excessive, but I can't regret it. It's gorgeous. Okay, here's a product I was a little bit disappointed in, but it's mostly my fault for getting the wrong shade. So this is the classic Dipbrow from Anastasia Beverly Hills. This came in a FabFitFun box, and I did have the opportunity to choose a shade, and I really waffled back and forth. It's so hard to just see online what colors would work out well, and I ended up ordering the shade Soft Brown, and it is a little bit too light for me. In the pot, it looks like it could work, but no, my brows are a little bit darker than this, and so this actually, it's just not right. You can see I gave it a good go though. I saw Kelly Gooch talk about this product and how it can be very natural looking if you just use a tiny little bit of product. So you can see basically how I was using it. I was barely tapping this little brush in there and then just kind of using it to gently create brush strokes. So I could see that if I had the right shade, I would probably use this. But this is one of those products that's famous for creating this super intense chiseled brow, and I did find that if I wasn't very careful and paying attention to what I was doing, that was what I got. And I'm just not into really intense sculpted brows like that. So if I ever do get this again in the future in the correct shade, it will be knowing that this will be with me for the rest of my life because I will use so little of it each time. Hopefully I can find someone in my life who has slightly lighter eyebrows than me who wouldn't mind trying this out. I'm thinking of my sister, although her eyebrows might be too light for this color, but I'll see who I can find to give this to. Let's talk real quick about this puff from e.l.f. So I actually had this on my wish list for so long. I thought it was so cool that e.l.f. came out with a little puff. Unfortunately, I really don't care for this puff. It's a little bit too firm for my taste, and I have really gotten used to these ones. I just buy them on Amazon. They are softer and they also come to more of a point, which makes it much easier to get into these little crevices around the eyes and the nose. This one, it's just a little bit more bulky and just not as nice. So I'm annoyed at myself. This was only $4, so it's not like I really spent a ton of money on it, but I could have just skipped it and stuck with these ones that I much prefer from Amazon. Okay, we have to talk about the mascara that I'm wearing. So this month I reached into my backup stash of mascaras instead of going and buying a new one like I have been doing lately. I've been doing a lot of testing of drugstore mascaras, but no, I have these backups. I'm like, I need to use them. So this I had never tried before. It's from Milk, and this is the Kush mascara. And I love this mascara. I couldn't remember how long this had been in my backup stash, so it's possible that it may have been dried out a little bit, but it was still completely usable. You guys will have to tell me if this normally has a wet formula, because it definitely didn't for me. It's more of a dry formula for me at the moment. But I absolutely love the way this makes the lashes look, so I'm gonna get closer. Hopefully you can see how separated and kind of fluttery they look. So this is how the wand looks if you're into more of a fluffy brush. This is one that you would like. I found this one easy to remove, and it wore decently. I felt like I might have gotten a little bit of smudging if I wore it all day, but it wasn't anything super noticeable. So it doesn't wear perfectly, but still I considered very good. Very few mascaras don't smudge at all, so I was pretty happy with that. It still does not unseat my very favorite mascaras, the Tower 28, the Cali Ray, the Honest Beauty. But look, if I could get this to like Sephora Points or something, I would 100% get it. I think it's a really, really nice mascara. Even though it creates that beautiful fluttery lash look, it's not super intense, which sometimes I don't want a super intense mascara, even though that's usually the way I lean. Sometimes I do want something a little more soft and fluttery, and this is somewhere between soft and fluttery and intense. It's like an intense fluttery mascara. I hope that that is helpful. And again, if you can share with me if this is normally a more wet formula, let me know down in the comments. I just don't know how old this was in my collection, but I'm going to use it as long as I can because I really like it. Okay, I have another palette to talk about, and this one is from Pat McGrath. So I had mentioned in a video, I think, or maybe on a community post, how I wanted to buy the Mothership 2, and I had a subscriber reach out to me and tell me that she was willing to sell me hers because she had barely touched it. So I did go ahead and purchase it from her, and I've been spending the past few months testing this. This one I wasn't able to get my thoughts on completely really quickly just because it's just very different from anything else that I have. To me, it is not a full-on like complete palette in itself with the way that I like to wear eyeshadow and the colors that I wear. This is something that I need to pair with something else for other mattes because there's only two mattes in this palette, the black and this kind of really deep plum shade, and I didn't really have a crease shade then with this palette. I don't necessarily mind having to reach for something else for a crease shade, but you know, that is something to note. The formula of the mattes is very consistent with the other Motherships I've tried, very pigmented, but at the same time usable. You just have to be light-handed. This shade surprised me. Pat does seem to like to include a nice inner corner like brightening shade in these palettes, but this one's actually more pink and not as pearlized as other ones I've tried in her palettes. Hang on a second, let me get you swatches. Okay, so here we have swatches of the Mothership 2 Sublime palette. So this is that inner corner, no, that's not it. Here, this side. This is that inner corner shade I was talking about. See how it's just not as pearlized, not as bright, and more on the light pink side. So it actually pairs well with like these shades down here, but it just wasn't the inner corner shade I was looking for. Then in the palette, we have these three satins, which I really like the satin formula. It's a very creamy formula that it looks really nice on the eyelids. It's not super glam. Not a lot of people talk about those satins. I understand that they're probably not everyone's favorite, but I really like them. I think that they're just really, really good for everyday single shadow eye looks specifically. So that was those three satins here. So the satins would be this shade, which is just a really good everyday brown. That's really nice. And then this shade here. And then we have the four special shades over here. So these are like the classic, very dry formula that tends to look very, very intense and gorgeous on the eyelid. So first we have this one, super intense yellow gold, or more like orangey gold, I suppose. This one, interestingly, on camera is flashing a little differently than it looks in real life. Just swatched on my hand here, it's very, very bright yellow gold, which I don't even know if you can see that. On camera, it looks like it's flashing more pink. Interesting. Just note that shade is very intense. And then we come to this green, which I was so excited about this green. I love green eyeshadow, but I didn't realize that the base of this green is actually black. Like, can you see that? It's a really, really deep base on that. So this isn't something I would normally put on my lid. It's just really dark and smoky for me. So the way that I ended up testing it and using it was as a liner, and it was very beautiful that way. I really enjoyed that. I think the shade though that I'm kind of disappointed in is the last special shade. Can you even see it there? It is just so dry. I put it on this finger. So dry that when I just try to spread it, it just kind of goes everywhere. And I have heard people say before that's the problem that they have with that particular formula, but this is the first time I've run into that personally with this formula where it's just too dry. It just wants to fly everywhere instead of sticking to the skin. That one is definitely like a glitter glue shade for sure. So I knew getting into this that this was like the warm toned palette, because the Mothership 1 is very cool toned. Mothership 2, looking at it, I knew it was gonna be very warm toned. Definitely not something I usually purchase, but there are shades that I like in here. I can see myself reaching in here for specific shades, but it is definitely not a full-on cohesive palette for me. I'll be reaching in here for one shade or two shades and having to pair it with other palettes to make it a complete palette for me, unless I'm reaching for like this shade or this shade as single shadow satin eye looks, because these are beautiful for that. So if you were looking at that palette, hopefully this was helpful for you. And that is everything that I had to talk about today. I hope that you guys had a wonderful March and have a good week going on into April. Oh my goodness, I had to jump back on here. I forgot to tell you my tea of the day. Sorry if you can hear the washing machine going. I just started that and it's over here. So whenever I am washing clothes, I can never film, but hopefully you guys won't mind that while I tell you about my tea of the day. It is so good. I didn't want to skip it. So it has the weirdest name, Arrogant Madagascar Coconut White Tea. I don't know what makes it arrogant, but I can tell you it is super good. It is really coconutty, and paired with the white tea, the coconut flavor really comes through. And the leaves are also really pretty leaves. It's just a very visually delightful tea as well. Again, I'm not sure what flavor the flowers add to this particular tea, but if you like a coconut white tea, this is delightful. Okay, back to my outro. I will see you again very soon in my next video. Bye.